What's up, guys? This is Forsaken Memories 45, shorthand Forsaken M, and I want to welcome you to this video, which I shall be labeling as my personal goals roadmap. Sure, whatever. You know how big gaming companies have been releasing roadmaps for the updates they have planned for their games? You know, they'll say that they're gonna go ahead and show you the roadmap, and it's just like a JPEG that has a bunch of images and brief descriptions of what they plan to add to the game moving forward, well in advance, 6 months, a year, possibly even more. Well, this is kind of like that. It's a little different, probably more vague in terms of details, but if you don't care about hearing me ramble about things and just want to skip to the point where I talk about what to expect from this channel moving forward, I'll go ahead and leave a timestamp right about now for you to go ahead and skip to. But it may be easier to just skim to the proper chapter on the progress bar, or just dig into the description to find that proper chapter timestamp. Hell, you may have already skipped this part and found what you wanted already. Which, I mean, fair enough. We all have a limited amount of time allowed in our days, but at least the notion of practicality is there, right? I know it's pretty cliche to make New Year's resolutions, and nobody really expects anyone to stick with them anyway, since a lot can happen to you in a year's time, and people really lack the time and will to be dedicated when it's just so much easier to just not work towards something that may require a consistent amount of effort. And this is especially true in more modern times, when it's so easy to become distracted and fill up your life with a bunch of things of various levels of meaning. But sometimes, when you bind yourself to your own word on what you view as an important moment, it can make your dedication to your goals that much stronger. I know I've tried something at the first of the year and sticking with it many a time before, and after not giving up on my promise, I just stopped making them for many years and, just celebrated the end of one year, passing into the next like you would any other holiday, spending time with family and friends, eating good food, maybe playing some games, just not thinking much more of it. However, I'm going to try a little bit of a different approach this year. My main goal for this year is to feel more positive about myself. To look at this person that I am and on reaction think, wow, this guy isn't half bad. In fact, he's pretty alright. Yeah, I know, that doesn't sound like much of a goal to be only not half bad or alright. But for me, it's actually a real goal. Strange, I know, but in reality, if I'm honest with myself, and this is something not many people know about me, not even many of my friends or family, but I am insanely critical of myself, to the point of being so negative that if I said what I thought out loud, it would probably sound like some sort of dumb, super emo, teenage roast session started by Kylo Ren after he woke up on the wrong side of the Force that day, and it would just go downhill from there, and I just don't want to feel that way about myself anymore. And I know that to do that, I need to make changes. I can't just do nothing. Thus, this goal to feel better, more positive about myself, it comes in two parts. And part one is the fact that I'm not happy with myself physically, and haven't been for a while now. I'm fairly overweight, and I know I'm unhappy about it. It's painfully obvious when nearly every time I think to insult myself over something, fat or any various similar descriptor is the first thing that pops to mind. It isn't something that's going to go away by doing nothing, as I mentioned earlier. So, over this year, I plan on eating better and putting in exercise time to slim down until I feel like I'm at a weight where I look at myself in the mirror and become critical. Being fat is no longer an accurate way to criticize myself. It will be rough because I'm a real homebody gamer, and I feel nervous at the idea of trying to do push-ups because I never exercise and I suck at them. And I do love me some delicious chocolate and other sweets. But it needs to be done if I want to feel more healthy in both body and mind. However, that's just part one of this plan. Part 2 is this channel. I've always had trouble in life feeling like I genuinely understand and know things about myself in terms of being able to describe myself to people. Things like, do I really enjoy this activity? Is this really my favorite show? Am I actually friends with this person? and many other questions where I doubt my own ways of giving myself an identity that seems true to me and that I can agree with. But in the last few years, I've done a really good job with both being less critical of and being more honest about the things I decide make up who I am as a person. And one of them I know for sure is that I am creative and a bit of a dreamer. When I'm at my most dedicated, most passionate, and in a lot of ways, most true to myself, is when I'm creating something. When I'm putting something together. Whether it's just some simple image editing or GIF creating for a stupid meme that only a couple of people will chuckle at, or recording myself playing a game that I love and trying to be entertaining while doing so, making some arts and crafts, or some sort of edible delight, be it an actual meal or just a batch of simple sweets. Heck, even just following the steps of putting together a piece of furniture or building a PC. I've noticed that I fall into this weird state of being where I'm not sure if Zen is an accurate description, but I just feel like I've gotten to my groove and I can just keep going at it without any need or desire to stop. Keep chipping away until I've either accomplished what I want to make, or I'm too physically tired and need some sleep. Or maybe something to eat. Although true gamers will know you can skip a meal or two when you are in the zone. The thing is, I may be quiet and may not have a smile on my face the entire time, but I really am enjoying myself through the process. Upon reflection, actually, even as a kid, I loved playing with Legos and making things either by the manual or just freestyling whatever was going on in my head at the time, so perhaps I've always been like this and I just lost my own understanding of that while making my way through life. Being a fan of Smash Brothers, I feel like saying that a core part of myself being very much akin to Master Hand seems pretty accurate. My spirit to create things is strong, and it's where I feel the most in tune with myself. Thus, a character that embodies a creative spirit is something I can heavily relate to. I guess you could say it's somewhat like a spirit animal or something. Maybe more accurate, a spirit character. Do people even use the term spirit animal anymore? Are people nowadays, kids gonna even understand this? Anyway, I've made content on this channel before, and I always enjoyed the process of putting it together, no matter what kind of content I was producing or what it was about, and I have a lot of ideas and topics I want to discuss. Heck, even the editing process sometimes ends up more enjoyable to me than not. So, you may wonder why this is even some sort of goal I have to stick to if I love making content so much. Well, that's in part because of how I look at and treat myself. When it comes to things I invest my time into and believe I should be fairly capable at, I do this thing where I demand nothing less than exactly what I envision I should be capable of. When it comes to video games, if I excel at a game, or believe that I do, where someone else would just be happy that they finally completed a difficult level, I would have to complete it without losing a certain number of lives, or not losing any lives at all, to be satisfied. I should be able to defeat this tough boss without taking a single hit, or beat a song on a rhythm game without missing a single note. And if I do take a single hit, or miss a single note, I will start all over with that encounter, over and over and over and over again, until I accomplish what I envisioned I should be able to, even if I get extremely upset or really frustrated in the process. In terms of making content, this manifests itself in re-recording countless times because I could have said something that was more funny, or delivered commentary with more enthusiasm, or without slurring my speech, or saying the wrong word or phrase, all because it has to be exactly how I envision it to be. This weird quirk of mine manifests itself into anything I feel as though I should be able to accomplish well, no matter if it's at work or at home, business or pleasure, even if it's realistically unfair to do that to myself based on the situation at hand. And it's something that I struggle with a lot, but it gets a bit worse. If I'm ever unable to reach this strange high caliber mental picture of what I feel it should be after lots of incredible determination, dedication, and I reach a maximum level of frustration, I just give up on it. If it's a boss in a video game, I just stop playing the game altogether instead of just accepting that beating it with only taking a couple of hits is actually pretty good. If it's a video I record and I review it, I'll either delete it or never upload it because I'll consider it a failure instead of seeing what is good in it. It's like anything less than my insanely demanding mental image of what true success is never good enough, and if I can't reach that, then I might as well just give up entirely. I know that doesn't sound very mature, and honestly, it's not, but I definitely do struggle with that. Some people would call me a perfectionist, and I would mostly agree that it's a fair description, but I'm not sure if it's entirely accurate. The reason behind that is because I don't impose this or these standards on any single person or other entity other than myself. Even giant companies with the resources to make something better when they flounder or fail, or parties of persons who fail at their job when it's what they are supposed to be capable of, what they're hired for. When I'm critical of them, it's still nowhere near the same level as how I treat myself in regards to reaching something that I find to be above average or average but acceptable in someone else's hands. And it really stops me from achieving things because, according to myself, I'm failing. And, man, I'm really, really terrified of being a failure. My fear of failure is so crippling that, at times, I've been so overwhelmed by it that I just stopped functioning altogether. There was a time in my life where I was losing my place to stay, a place that was truly mine, due to being unable to keep up with paying for it and everything else that I needed to take care of. At that time, I had lost my roommate who was helping cover costs, I had lost my car, and I had just recently lost my wallet on public transportation, which meant I had no way to get to work other than to lean on others for help. And even with all my efforts, I had to pick between food and rent, and I couldn't find a way to fill the gap between them. And with this all happening over the holiday season, and no family that was nearby to help, and no phone to reach out to them, it just brought me down that much more, to the point where I eventually stopped going into work altogether. I ended up getting evicted, and because I had nowhere to take any of my things, and no car to bring them with me, I lost so much of my stuff. And with no way to get the proper documents to finish up my paperwork for any new job so that I could be properly paid, I ended up drifting around from friend to friend, living off of them for a period and then drifting to the next, constantly wondering if I was ever going to pull myself back up and just trying to distract myself from the fact that I was losing everything and that I felt worthless. It was a very difficult hole to climb out of, and I felt like if I asked for help and didn't do it all on my own, I would be a failure, and the fear of that failure kept me wallowing around tragically for months. It wasn't until a friend encouraged me to reach out, probably due to a mix of both being worried and caring about me, but also just being really sick of my crap and unable to do anything more for me, I finally broke through and got the help that I needed, and I'm much better off now in the long run. Fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact, really up to you, I guess. I actually planned on uploading a bunch of stuff over this last year. I had a bunch of reactions to Smash Ultimate reveals and Nintendo Directs as a whole, as well as my thoughts on speculation I wanted to discuss, and games I wanted to play and feature on my channel, and I just didn't do it. Sure, there were a fair share of distractions, but I could have just done it at any point if I really set my mind to it. But I didn't. However, with the announcement of a certain game that I plan on making a video on in the very near future, ever since September I really wanted to make content for the channel again. I had gotten a new PC that, while not terrific per se, was an insane upgrade from the potato I had for years, and I could actually play games on my PC and record them. I had bought an Elgato HD 60S Plus and rearranged my setups for my consoles and everything. I was ready to go. However, being distracted by considering pursuing school, job hunting, societal requirements, family, friends, personal private gaming sessions, tabletop gaming, and more, The months passed by so quickly. Even so, I finally put my foot down, and I told myself I would make a small, heavily edited video as a quick meme that would get me back into the spirit of making content. This was going to be my personal promise to myself to just dedicate myself to something I love. It was going to be a small portion of the video titled Something About Smash Brothers, The Subspace Emissary, made by Terminal Montage. Oh my god, holy crap, he's so freaking cool! And the clip I was making starts from when Samus is freaking out about Mario gaining too much speed, and he starts sucking the soul out of Buttchin Fabunos over here. And it was going to be edited with a bunch of text comparing Mario to my new PC, and how Luigi was my brain cells trying to process how fast the new PC was in comparison to my old one, and now my PC is sucking out my soul and all my social life. I put actual hours into using, at the time, a different video editing software than I use now, and I had an insane amount of just keyframes, just step by step, for the text to move with the animation, and I had finally completed after hours and hours and hours. But at the time I was using Filmora, which meant that I, by the end of it, found out I either had to pay for the non-free version, or have this giant-ass watermark covering the entire video. And I didn't want any other watermark than my boy Terminal's on it. So, in a noble but perhaps not the most lawful or permissible attempt to deal with this watermark, I attempted to do a classic uninstall and reinstall with a version of Filmora that should work without giving me that crappy watermark. And although I told it not to during the uninstalling process, it erased my project completely, and since I didn't actually go through the process of rendering it, it was lost forever. Hours of work. Poof. Gone. Just like that. Considering how it was the one thing I had given to myself as proof of an oath to continue forward with making content again, I pretty much just dropped it right there. The entire idea of making content. Sure, you know, I could have installed a different video editing software, which I did. Screw Filmora. I would recommend no one touch that trash. And I could have just opened up the video again and went back to work on all the editing again, but I was just too defeated over all my effort having been gone, reduced the atoms. So instead, I just resigned myself to what I felt like was my fate at the time and went back to immersing myself with all my other activities. Having my computer later on literally set on fire after that, and spending a good chunk to bring it back to working order definitely didn't bring along any rise or increase in inspiration for making content, but, you know, what can you do? So, I have a weird sense of success that has to be point for point exactly what I envision it to be, and anything else is seen as failure. And I have a crippling fear of failure that can stack up and reduce me to a massive, depressed, blubbering waste of flesh. Boy, that's really not a good combo. And lots of times, it ends up with me never trying to push forward in life to improve myself because I have this idea of what I need to meet for goals, and I fear I will fail to achieve that level, which means I'm gonna fail overall, so I never even try. But, and the probably ridiculously iconic words of Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. In other words, you have to make a move. You have to reach out and try to accomplish what you want, because if you don't try to succeed, you are already failing. You won't succeed every time you try, but you may be surprised by what you do succeed at that you would have never thought you could do it originally. Something that you would never experience if you gave up before you even took a single step in the right direction. It's taken me years to finally let this sink in and really just permeate through my being, and I still struggle with it even now. But if nothing else, I found out that I've just wasted a lot of what, you know, a lot of people would probably call my golden years, living in fear of doing just that, and I'm more afraid now of not having anything to show than showing things that I personally think could have been much better. That's why this is such a big deal for me to stick to. which is why I'm putting the impact behind it to be a resolution for 2022. I feel as though if I can work on these two things, getting in better shape and just putting my content out there, even if it sucks at first, even if I stutter and have to edit a bit more, or I'm not as hype when discussing something as I think I should be, or if my camera isn't worth $1,000 so I look even worse than Mother Nature already made me, just putting out there what I have, and while not putting a no effort into my content, but being slightly less picky about each individual keyframe perhaps, would be a good place to start. So, for the very few of you who came to this channel and watched this video, after getting all of that off my chest, no matter how awkward it may have sounded or how high the cringe levels may have risen, I want to give you an idea of what to look forward to in terms of the kind of content I plan to upload to this channel. You may see I have a backlog of videos dating way back, with lots of gaps of time in between, with various offerings in terms of types of content, and that's a sign that I've attempted this multiple times before. And honestly, that's actually what I plan on doing. Variety, not taking huge breaks. Variety. I love playing video games. I have since I was 3 or 4 years old, and just playing games and enjoying them and providing entertainment through that, it just seems to make sense, and it's something I enjoy doing, so why not? I also like to talk about things. You couldn't tell already. Discussions about various topics, sometimes things that people may find, controversial, or, just talking about games, movies, anime, or videos I've watched, events that have happened, and depending on what's on my mind, I could be making a video talking about what I think will be announced at a video game presentation, or talking about something that was reported on the news, or responding to another YouTuber. I often play tabletop games, both in the nature of board and or card games, as well as role-playing games, and I enjoy being the GM most often when it comes to the latter. I enjoy watching announcements of things that I love, so while I personally find it to be the bottom of the barrel in terms of content, I wouldn't mind providing occasional reaction videos. And if you guys decide you want to see more of those, maybe we can look into that. I can often be critical of things, whether I like or dislike them, and I tend to line up pros and cons regarding events or products a lot, so reviews of movies or games is something I'll probably provide. In other words, I plan to offer a little bit of everything, whatever comes to my mind and I decide is a good idea at the time. It may be wiser, to stick to a specific kind of content for the YouTube algorithm, or make one channel for gaming videos and another one for discussion videos so that I don't bother or potentially offend viewers, or to act a certain way and censor myself so that I can be super ad friendly. But I honestly don't care about all that. As it is now, I'm doing this for me, for myself. Because of that, I will upload the content I feel like uploading at the time, and streaming what I want to stream, doing what floats my boat, and, maybe brightening the days of others or engaging in meaningful interactions with people along the way. I have no desire to fine-tune every single fiber of myself or my content to fit with YouTube's ever-changing rules of the road to monetization. I mean, they don't know what's going on half the time. I don't care if I get ads or if something could get demonetized, and I'm not worried about sponsors approaching me or making sure I'm advertiser friendly, which really doesn't mean all that much anyway. I care much more about making my content in a way that satisfies me and that I think is entertaining, regardless of whether that means my channel will explode, get super popular, or sink, and no one will watch anything I make. In this way, what I offer to you as the viewer, for those of you who stick around, in the very least, is you will get content from me that is as true to myself as my content and I can be, and that there really won't be some fake persona on the other side of the screen. I'll play what games I want to play, talk about what I want to talk about, etc., etc. As far as a schedule, I really don't want to box myself into something like that just yet. Having a newer job that shoves me into an afternoon time slot means that when I start work, people are anxious that they are getting off soon. And when I get off work, people are starting to hit the hay. While this doesn't affect my energy personally or my desire to record, it does affect being able to have decent lighting where I live in regards to my webcam, because while it's not awful, it could be better. Not being able to offer the best in terms of setting, camera quality, and only a decent mic for mic quality has brought me down and out of making content before. But pretty much every creator started somewhere with only what they had. So while I won't let it get me down, it can make sometimes the content difficult to record. So I'd like to aim for posting something once a week, but just getting my content out there and not letting it fall to the wayside is my current goal. As for streaming, that will likely either be when I get off work or during the weekend when I have more freedom. So, in summary, I'm going to improve my view of myself by shedding pounds and uploading content to this channel. And the content will be a mixed bag of different things to offer. And my upload schedule will be relatively spontaneous with a dash of streaming tossed in there. As far as teasers go, things that you can actually expect in the future, I can guarantee a video about VHS and what it can mean for the gaming sphere, and at least one video discussing my personal thoughts about it. At least one. A video that is an incredibly spoiler-ridden review of Spider-Man No Way Home, as I just saw it the last weekend that was in theaters in my area, and it was amazing. And more content that is similar to what I talked about mostly in 2020. You'll understand more about that later. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything. And I have definitely blabbed on long enough. Thanks to those of you who stuck around to watch all of this, or, even any of this video, honestly. But for now, this has been Forsaken Memories 45, shorthand for Forsaken M, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Peace.